hello. I'm going to start by telling you something a little bit different. I'm a stand-up comedian. It's super extra different because this event started at 8:30 on a Sunday morning. You don't often see us out this time of day, or ever on a Sunday. We're talking about Prevernal today. We've learned a lot about that word. When I got the call for this, I was thinking, okay, what's this? Back in a time before people were naming their kids Vern. What the hell's Prevernal? I had no idea. I'm not going to pretend I didn't have to look it up. Turns out it's a beautiful word. The definition where I was looking is occurring early in the growing season. And that really spoke to me. My talk today is about starting something new, but with a very old idea, one that was given to me a really, really long time ago in this very school system, 1.5 million years ago, roughly. I'm rounding up. So I can say the two things that are my favorite things about being a stand-up comic, there are lots of things that are great about it, but the two that I love the most, one, of course, making people laugh. I mean, you guys know what that's like when you're in a grocery store and you got a baby in a cart in front of you that you don't know, and you make a face, and the baby goes wild. It's that. You're responsible for that. Right in that sweet spot before the mom goes, "Stop freaking out my baby!" Weirdo. The truth that comes up out of people when they laugh is gorgeous. It's beautiful. When you can take something and throw it out into a crowd and have that energy and that laughter wash back over you and then play around in those waves, come on, nothing like that. The second part, on a night that it goes well, the second part that I love is actually physically sitting down and writing the material, crafting the jokes, taking your stories and rigging them up so that you can share them with people that are nice enough to come out and see you. That's connection. That's what I love about it. The people that I've known throughout my career have always asked me, and people I don't know, have always asked me one question over and over again, and that's, where do you get your material? So a bit of background on me. You heard a bit of it already. I'm from here. This is Lund. Population about 200 in the winter, if you're not counting hippies, given around there. This is where I'm from now, Toronto. Population 20,000 times that of Lund, where I'm the hippie now. I'm absolutely in love with this place that I'm from and everything that it created in me. I spent most of my career defending that it's actually real. People don't believe it. They think it's like somewhere like Narnia or Gordix Hollow that I just pulled out of my ass. Yeah. Like you can make up Lund. Right? I mean, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. You know your neighbors. It's community-based. It smells like wood smoke and ocean. And I love it. It's a gorgeous place to be from. But when I was a teenager, it wasn't cool to be from Lund. Big part of that was that we had to take the Lund bus to school. And it wasn't like the city buses the kids would show up at in town, the town buses. The Lund bus had a very heavy-duty road to navigate to town. So we got the one with the big ass engine in the front. So there was no blending in once you got to town. You're the Lund kids on the Lund bus. So that's how you start your day every day, as being different. So being different wasn't something I was really into back then. My grandma used to make me clothes. She was a wonderful seamstress. I used to be able to rip something out of a catalog and give it to her, and she would make that. It was like having a Swedish designer trapped in my basement. It was awesome. But all I wanted was something with a tag or a logo on it. I didn't want to be different. I wanted the same. My mom would make these legendary, homemade, home-baked, epic school lunches that I wouldn't take to school because I just wanted to be seen walking around with a plastic grilled cheese sandwich and a box of drink from the canteen. I wanted same. That's all I wanted. And because of this kind of wanting to be below the radar a bit, I kept to myself a lot. People that remember me from high school, if they remember me at all, knew me as very quiet, kind of shy. Yeah, so what the hell? What made me... What? What happened? Who? This is like the most feared thing ever. Throughout history and around the world, people fear public speaking more than death and disease. That's exactly what this is, standing in front of crowds of people and speaking directly to them with the added pressure of having to come up with your own hilarious things to say. You ever have a therapist go, "Whoa!" Yeah. That's just what I did. It's not that I wasn't scared to do it. I just kind of put determination ahead of that fear. That's just how I rolled. Or maybe, I don't know. That's just how I was. Anyways, why did I do this? Why did I pick this thing? I thought about it for a long time, and I kind of came to an understanding. I think it comes with age. You come to an understanding of how you're hooked up. It's the beauty of age. Looking back, for the most part, the basis of it all, I didn't think I was smart. I didn't think I was a smart kid. And although I was never really officially diagnosed, because we didn't really do that in the 70s, it was more self-medicating than diagnosing anything, from what I hear. I had a little bit of struggle with dyslexia. I think in backwards a bit, which is, wasn't major crisis every day, but I failed my driver's test from signaling left and turning right a bunch of times. If that's not a diagnosis, I don't know what is. I've got a paper somewhere. So it's official somewhere in the driver's test office. My piano teacher used to have to teach me an up hand and down hand instead of left and right. It wasn't major, but it was enough. It was enough to plant the seed for me to think that I wasn't smart enough to just figure it out like everybody else seemed to be doing. Anybody else ever feel like that? Yeah, it's not uncommon, but when you're a kid and all you think about is yourself, that's all I knew. I thought I was the only one, so I was walking around not feeling so smart. So because of this, like I said, I stayed under the radar a lot. And I became very defiant. That audible gasp was from my dad. He remembers this face very much. I would say, you have to be very determined or just really freaking defiant. That's what I was. So over time, you put different systems and practices into place to push you through fear. For the most part, mine's boots. Everybody has something. So the very first time I was ever going to go on a stand-up comedy stage, at about 11:30 that morning, I decided that I needed to be very much taller than I already was. It was integral to being funny that day, I don't know. So I ran around Vancouver looking for a pair of boots, and that kind of stuck. And I own a lot of boots now. They're kind of like my comedy blankie, I guess. And I also stay pretty planted behind the mic stand. So all this like moving around without a mic stand or a microphone, it's a miracle I'm not talking into this thing. Like all this sort of hands-free stuff is pretty freaky. But these are new, so we'll be fine. So why did I choose this? The conclusion I kind of came to was comedy for me has been my way to muscle into proving myself as a writer. That's where this all started. I know where I sat, and I know what it felt like because I still feel it, that sort of coming together of your backbone. My English teacher here in Powell River was this wonderful man, Mr. Kinahan. I don't know if anybody remembers him. He was just this delightful, fun teacher that used to watch the Jetsons on Saturday and then tell us about it during the week, and as English teachers will. And he told me with this very quiet directness once in class that I could write, that I was very good. Planted a little seed. And then when I graduated, very shortly after that, I met William Golding, who was the author of Lord of the Flies, which we'd studied a lot in Mr. Kinahan's class, so I wrote him a letter. And I told him this story of this sort of fluke meeting, and he wrote me back and he told me again, you can write. And I wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying it. I had his words, but I wasn't hearing them. But luckily, I carried them with me all these years. This belief that I had that I wasn't smart enough to be a writer was really deep. I packed that around with me a lot more. I sort of saw writers that were writing for real as being very well educated, having a list of university degrees, excellent spellers, all that stuff I thought was mandatory. So comedy for me became my way of writing out loud. You didn't need a degree. You barely needed permission. You didn't need to know how to spell stand or up. You just kind of tossed it out every time. There was no really committing it to paper or showing it to anybody. You just whip it out into a crowd and see what happens. So it became my way of writing out loud and being defiant once again. So what you do when you're performing and writing stand-up comedy for a live audience in a club setting, you take your stories and you break them up into bits. A bunch of bits about the same thing is called a chunk. And depending on how much stage time you have that night, you take that many chunks, and that makes up your act. If you're using examples, you typically use 3, the third being the funniest, and at the end of a chunk. Everything has to happen last night or recently. You got to move it along, especially with what's happening with people's attention spans. There's like, you got to move it along, set up, punch, set up, punch. If you get overly convoluted, you end up blowing chunks. So what I'm finding in sort of exploring writing outside of this world, you take your stories and you start to stretch them out like a big net. You start catching things, letting them drift out and expand, and you grow them. There's a wonderful episode. Not that there's any bad episodes of the Waltons, but there's a particularly lovely one that I love, episode 11, season 1, where this John Boy knows, here's a spoiler alert, John Boy's having a little insecurity about his ability to become a great novelist one day. Don't know why that resonated with me, but anyways, John Boy's having some trouble with his ability to get at this big goal. So on this particular episode, onto the mountain wanders some strange man, which happened a lot, and nobody seemed to ask any questions, but anyways, there comes this strange dude, and he's a writer, he's a novelist, and he gives John Boy some great advice. He said, write the small stories first. So John Boy would sit in his window, and he started writing stories about Walton's Mountain and newspaper articles, stuff like that. So now I sit in my window, dressed very much like I'm heading for Walton Mountain. I sit in my window and I write a blog, taking my stories and starting to stretch them out, growing them a little bit. It's like my little garden that I tend to now. A couple of years of doing this, I'm now getting asked to go and grow things in other people's garden, which is very cool and an honor. And my a writing project that I do every year around a charity cycling event that I participate in, is now my first book, which, and I plan it this way because I'm very dramatic, it's on somebody's desk for the first time right now, getting looked at with human eyes other than mine, which is a whole other kind of horrifying terror that I had no idea I was putting myself in the way of, but she can take it. I take her boot shopping. So anyways, the takeaway from today, and from this story, I hope, what I'd like for you guys to do is, if you can, tell somebody. Tell somebody that they're smart enough. Tell someone that they're brilliant, that they're talented. Lift them up with your faith in their ability. Especially if you're a teacher. We've heard that a lot today. Teacher, parent, somebody that has influence over kids. Tell them at the beginning of their growing season. And also, listen when somebody tells you, have an open ear. Listen when somebody tells you you can write, that you can do it, that you're loved, that you're smart. Because by not listening, you make it really hard for the first person to offer it to somebody else. Now, we've all got something, something. And when you can open yourself up to that and start seeing it in yourself and let that settle in and be comfortable with it, you start seeing it in other people. And it gives you the opportunity, and I think the obligation as a human being, to nurture it in other people. Mr. Kinahan's words, those couple of words, so long ago that he gave me, came to me at the beginning of my growing season as a writer. The garden went a little mental there for a while. But I'm really, really delighted and proud, especially here to say that I'm not quite fully grown yet. Thank you.